Today we're going to talk about a journey into building a tool holder. Here we go.
Now that I have a workshop with completed electrical and redone lighting, one of the things that occurred to me was, how can I actually start making use of this space? Now, this space is a decent sized space, but it does double as also bike and family storage, as you can see here. So, as I started to clean and erase the cobwebs from my mind that had taken this whole summer-long exploration on how to wire a new building, one of the things I started to think about was where stuff could end up going. At the back of my usable workspace, I have a workbench with a backing pegboard, and this came with the place when we bought it. I would love to build my own workbench someday, ideally a mobile one that could move around the space a little bit better, but this does an okay job right now. The surface is large, it's pretty solid and easy to clean. And the back wall, and in rewiring the place, I was able to expose the back wall and remove all the wood paneling that was behind the workbench. And I thought, well, a great first project would be to create something to hold my impact driver, my drill, the batteries, and the charger for the Milwaukee batteries that they all use. This seemed like a fairly straightforward task. I had a general idea of what I wanted to do and how I wanted to make it. So I set forth and decided to use SketchUp. Now, I had used SketchUp before. Here's like the initial default drawing of me trying to remodel my house in SketchUp. I set out to try to build this tool holder in SketchUp, and I struggled figuring out how to correctly make joinery, how to make the pieces square, how to keep the camera from skewing. But I was able to sort of come up with something I liked, picked a design I liked, and decided to set forth building it. Now, I had a lot of scrap plywood lying around from past projects and just from excess pieces from different various things. So I thought, well, that makes the most sense to use for this whole project is 3/4 ply. I got a dado stack from my local tool library, and it took 2 passes because I couldn't fit the full dado stack in the table saw, but I was able to get dados cut out and built the case. That was all fairly straightforward and went according to plan, and then my problems started to arrive. Now, you'll notice if you go back to the drawing that I created in SketchUp that I was just going to use straight boards along the bottom to support the tops of the drills or drivers or whatever else I was going to put in there. But I decided after looking at it that I wanted a curved piece to just slot in the handle of whatever I was fitting in there. And here's where I started to just sort of play fast and loose with what I wanted to do and how I wanted to make things. And I deviated vastly from my original drawing. Sometimes deviating from things works out well, but not always. My first problem came from the fact that my space that I had to fit the holders in was of different sizes. So I tried to cut some equal size pieces to fit in here with the slots to hold, but they were all the wrong size. And rather than cut new ones, because I'm dealing with a limited scrap supply, I decided to just fit in shims and glue them all together and hold things that way. I managed to get the shims to fit in there. I used some glue and just some quick brad nails as a clamp to hold things together while I glued more in. One problem that I didn't really foresee until I got started was how to cut the slot holes out of the boards holding up what I wanted to hold. And I think if I'd had a drill press or even a multi-tool or a finished router table, this would have been a little easier in that I could have ran it along the fence. As it is, it's a pretty ugly slot that's cut. And now it's time to get started on the French cleats. So here I took another piece of scrap plywood, tilted the blade on my table saw to 45 degrees, and just cut it in half. And it's a pretty straightforward process. You just attach one side of the cleat to your wall. And then you attach the other side with the mating 45-degree angle on the back of whatever it is you're hanging. And it just slides on top. And it can fit anywhere along your cleat, so you don't have to line it up with a stud. You don't have to worry about it being level because you already leveled the actual backing cleat behind it. This process is often used for hanging cabinets because similarly, you don't have to worry about applying the holes while you're hanging the cabinet in the back of a cabinet to where you have studs marked. It's hard to see oftentimes because cabinets can cover up the wall. And you can also easily hang cabinets by yourself because you can attach the cleats on the ground and then just put the cabinet up on the wall. So here you can see some of the initial problems I started to have was realizing that because I was trying to use the scraps and stick to just the scraps, I ended up with a bunch of different sizes of holes on where stuff would fit. And it's all fairly awkward and just sort of crammed together. But I was able to end up putting my brad nailer in there because I have a deeper hole that it can all fit in.
So, now that it's done, I don't love it. Changing the design halfway through and then realizing some issues definitely screwed me up. And I think I normally would have just ditched the whole thing. But the content stream of videos must be completed. So I wanted to get this finished, at least to document this process. I will probably end up scrapping this. But for right now, I think it serves the purpose of holding the things it was meant to hold. The nail gun was a last minute addition because I don't have 3 drivers, and it was definitely the most awkward to try to template in and then make work, along with all the other spacing and measurement and sawing issues that I had. Fortunately, it was just scrap plywood, which I have more of, so I can definitely revisit making something like this. And the French cleat idea worked okay, although I realized that this workbench is so deep that reaching back to where I had planned on hanging those cleats is really awkward. And there's a gap between the back of the bench and the cleat wall. That's where stuff's going to fall. So maybe I need to move this somewhere else, which will probably mean getting rid of this unnecessary pegboard backing that can't really hold anything anyways. Okay, well, thanks for watching. Hope you had an enjoyable journey. Stay tuned next week. Like and subscribe to this video, please, if you haven't already, and I'm glad you're here.